right now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to talk about, well, yes, I don't know what you're going to talk about, but hey, we've got Brian Bonacisi and Keith Kokoris. Sorry, guys. I
Hey, Casey. How are you, buddy? Are you recouped? Are you like... No?
No, gotcha. This is straight adrenaline right here.
Yeah.
How about you? How you been? How you been?
It's been a busy week. You know, I'm in bridal show selling season. So anybody watching probably knows, like, they're getting pestered by every bridal show promoter in the country right now because it's time. You know, we want you to reserve your booths so that you are locked, cocked, and ready to rock for January 6th, which is the first busy weekend, which you think about it, that's next week is going to be a month away. So we're only 5 weeks away from bridal show season. So it's coming up a lot faster. So for those of you that are getting annoyed by people like me, it's really simple. Say yes or say no. All right? If you don't have the money, we know it with all of the dog ate my homework stories. And you know what? If you're tight on cash, I'm telling you, I was at Wedding NBA surrounded. We had like our little think tank for bridal show producers there. And I'll tell you, there's not a bridal show producer that I met there. 18 people from across the country. They want to work with people. They'll work with you. They'll do whatever they have to do, set up payment plans, do whatever. So, you know, take advantage. Just be yourself. Be a good dude, and they'll work it out. So that's that. So take the call, man. Make that money, you know? So that's all. So you had a busy week, huh?
Yeah, it's been busy. Saturday, I didn't take any events, and I flew into Tampa and prepped for kind of I guess you could just call it a meetup more or less. It's not anything that's membership based or pay to play or anything like that. It was just kind of a mixtape part 2 is what I would call it of what we did last year, which was just a meetup towards the end of the year, and we just talked through just different things, brought in a couple of speakers. It was just a non-money making venture. And this year we decided to do it again. So, when we decided to do that, I was like, I got to step it up. So I, went all out a little bit more than we did last year even. And, it worked out great. It was 22 people initially.
Are you allowed to talk about it?
One because somebody had,
or is it?
Oh yeah, of course.
Not top secret.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you could share everything that went on.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there's nothing.
I have one burning question. How many? And he's watching us. So hello to Mike Walter. How many different scarves did Mike Walter bring with him to change?
Well, I'll tell you what. I wish you would have brought at least a couple more because it was freezing in Florida. Yeah. The weather was supposed to be 81 degrees all week.
Yeah.
It was 81 on Sunday, I think, and it dropped to like 40s and 50s for the whole week, and none of us had any clue that it would be that like this cold front was coming in, and so the whole week we were just freezing.
Well, in all
not prepared.
Mike Walter is one of the more fashionable dressers within our industry. So,
absolutely.
As much as I bust ball,
although I did hook him up.
Did you
hook him up? We had a dinner. He came straight from Mexico. He was on vacation.
Oh yes, Mexico. Yes.
Yeah. So we looked up this place we were going to have dinner, and they required you to wear a jacket. And luckily, I had brought 2. And believe it or not, we did find out we could share clothes. We wear the same size. Believe it or not.
Really?
So it worked out well. Yeah.
You could wear my clothes. I just couldn't wear yours. That would be the problem.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
exactly.
You and Mike could probably both get into one of my shirts, to be honest.
Probably.
So,
well, you know what was interesting? Nate Nelson. It was really cool to see him. I haven't seen him, since I think like the NACE convention, which was a while back, and he has lost 80 pounds. That guy, which is unbelievable. I mean,
he's made that commitment to health,
and he's really like. It was, it's one thing to say it and, you can fall off the wagon at these kind of things, especially when you travel, and to see his menu choices and the things that he was picking, I was just like, wow, this guy is committed. So
good.
I have no doubt he's going to hit his goal. Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah.
Good job, Nate. Keep up the good work, big guy. I know what it's like, man. I've been up, I've been down. It's tough, man. To me, I've never had any addictions before, but I would say food is an addiction for me. But it's different because you don't need to drink, you don't need to smoke, you don't have to smoke weed, but you do have to eat. You do have to consume things, and
right.
No, you don't need to eat a cheeseburger, but
right.
Don't we all kind of want a cheeseburger? Or, I mean, we know that America wants
good.
Chicago-style hot dogs and deep dish pizza.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
and some people are already dreaming.
Another day. So, it's kind of ironic because you and I talked last night when I called to congratulate you on what looked like a very successful event.
Yeah,
based on all the pictures and stuff, which was great. And we talked about. I wasn't even sure if you were going to be on tonight, which was one of the reasons that I reached out to you. And then we just figured, since you said that you were getting hit up quite a bit on social media by people, it kind of brought up the topic of think tanks and idea shares and, as you call it, mixtapes. And there are certainly more and more of them happening, because I think a group of DJs, did I see Bill Herman and Lucas?
Yeah.
They did the North American Collective, I think is what they called it.
Yeah, the Huddle 2018.
Yeah. So they did their thing as well. And so it brings up the subject of, what are they? Why are they happening in our industry? And, and you and I have talked, I started the original DJ think tank in 2003, and I'll share with you and everybody watching. It wasn't a billionaire boys club. It was simply all of the people, kind of like yourself, that I had met at a DJ expo that I had seen speak, or I had been introduced to at a lunch or a dinner or a breakfast through mutual friends, that I said, God, this guy really knows what he's talking about. And through a chance situation, I was invited to Marcello Pedalino's birthday party on like a Tuesday. I flew out that day, and then I did the Jersey tour of seeing Total Entertainment. Well, at the time, Jeffrey Craig Entertainment. Mike Walter opened up his home to me with Elite Entertainment. I saw Mark Klatskin's office. I saw Jerry Syracuse's office. Marcello came and spent the day with us one day, and we ended up in this Chinese buffet just talking shop, similar to probably what you did for 3 days, with no organization, though. And it was kind of sad that when we had to get on the road. And so I said, well, you guys have opened up your homes and your offices to me. How'd you like to come to Chicago in July? It's a beautiful time of year. And they said, you put it together. We're there. And we started very similar to you with, 12, 14 guys and maybe a couple of girlfriends or wives that came along. And, we found out we have a lot of the same challenges, same goals, same dreams, same questions. And so we locked ourselves in a conference room and we went from there. And, it grew and changed and evolved into what it is. And, you've got your thing, which has, I would guess, a lot of like-minded people that are looking for answers to some of the same questions that you may have, which is why you've put a certain group together. And same thing with this. So let me ask you this. If somebody wanted to do this, what do you think they need to do? What would your advice, because it's clear that these things are popping up and the DJ industry certainly wasn't the first one to come up with the idea. But what would you say now? Your event is it public? Is it private? Like
well, right now it's just by invite only, and it's not there's no application, no vetting process. But
gotcha.
We have it was actually started by a text thread that myself and Jason Janai and Joe Bunn had a while back of like, hey, what if we got together at the end of the year and went somewhere and just kind of like brainstorm some ideas. And then I said, well, let's maybe think about bringing a few other folks in to make it a little bit more powerful. And so that's where we started. And we picked Austin last year just because it was the middle of the country and it was easy for people to get to. And from there, it kind of took off. But I think, to answer your initial question about what people need to do to get started, I mean, honestly, there is definitely value in meeting in person. There's no doubt about it. Yeah. So you could do some things, organically through the, just through text and stuff like that. But there's value. There's conversations that you just can't have, that just happen, sure, organically, that you can't manufacture that, at home. So anyway, my first advice would be to find some like-minded people that seem to be in the same direction. And that's not easy. I mean, you have to definitely, spend the time to figure out exactly what your focus is and what you're looking to get out of it, and explain that well to some folks that you want to get along, that you want to be a part of that journey, and see if it meshes. And you may not get it right all the time, but that would be the first thing, is to find those folks. And then secondly would be to, figure out what the end goal, what are you trying to accomplish by getting together that you can accomplish, virtually
through
and then that's really the kind of the starting point.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
See, for me, this was long before social media.
Right.
We are 2003, and I don't think I even personally joined Facebook until 2008, 2009. Maybe 2008 is probably about the time I joined, which is, I think, when everybody joined. That wasn't in college, and so we actually had a bulletin board, a private bulletin board system, and that group probably still does. So
right.
So that's all. But
I think nowadays it's a little bit different than it may have been early on, because there is such access to content, more so than ever before, via YouTube or any kind of social platform. So I think, and for the most part, a lot of it seems like, I mean, I can just from observation, I don't have any hard facts, but it seems like the trade show circuit, if you will, has been, trending down as far as attendance goes for a lot of the shows. And I think that part of that has been just a lack of innovation when it comes to how do we reinvent this in a way that's fresh and new. And when people have seen the same thing for years, it just kind of opens up the door for these kinds of meetups to occur, because it's just a different mechanism. And so, but all that being said, I do feel like all these things, workshops and conventions, and these, if you think tank groups, whatever you want to call them, they all have their place because they all accomplish different things. They're, clearly, if you're just getting started in the business, I would recommend right off the bat to go dip your toe into that convention pond, because they're trying to reach a mass amount of people, and there's a lot more at the starting end of the pool than there is at the other end.
Right.
So there's a lot more like-minded folks there. And then the workshops, clearly those are typically delivering content down a certain path. Like it's going to be a mic workshop, or it's going to be something tailored towards a specific topic or skill, and you just drill down.
Right.
So that's more, I would consider, kind of middle, level, if you want to call that, like you're developing a specific skill. Not that you can if you're at the beginning or at the end, but it's generally the more mid-level folks. And then those think tank groups, it tends to be, it's more established people that are looking for more, that want to take it to the next level. At least that's been my perception from what I've seen.
Even with your own group, that's a pretty, I mean, I know a lot of the people, I probably knew 80% of the people that were in the pictures that you posted, and I don't think there's one of them with less than 10 years experience, except for the one gentleman from LA that said he's only like 3 years or whatever.
Right.
So I'm assuming you just put a beanie propeller on him and had him fetch you drinks the whole time. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. But there are those guys that are like, that even though he hasn't been doing it for as long, there are some guys. It's just like I equate it similarly to sports. You know, you have a rookie who's all of a sudden, you know, making the All-Star team in year one. There are those superstar talents that just sometimes creep to the top a lot quicker than the guy who's been doing it 10 years.
Oh yeah,
you know, it doesn't happen often, but there are times that does take place. And I think in his case, that's kind of the spot is in his market. He's definitely making noise. You look at a guy like Nick Spinelli is another example. You know, he's a guy who a year ago you probably wouldn't have known his name, right? And now look at the guy. I mean, he's definitely in demand, and kudos to him for doing what he's doing. But you know, it just again, it's somebody who's just kind of taken the reins and made a name for himself, and good on him for doing so.
And again, he wouldn't have been able to do this 10 years ago because social media wasn't where it is today. You know, like I said, 10 years ago was about the time I think I joined Facebook. There wasn't streaming video, and and even our show wouldn't have existed the same way, I don't think, 10 years ago. I think John just started adding stuff. I think he just started adding live video and stuff, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, he started doing video. So, so that's all.
But I think, you know, one of the biggest things I think we've both beaten a dead horse on this is, you know, education is so crucial to development. And a lot of DJs, in a lot of cases, once they get the basics, they feel like they can just kind of coast. And you can. I mean, there is that opportunity to do that. But then those that want to continue to develop it, you know, any way you can get education, in my mind, is a win. Whether it's through a convention, you know, through a workshop or something like this. And I just think that, especially as we're getting towards the end of the year, like you just said, we're going to be a month away from 2019. For me, this was a great time of year to be doing this, because I'm already starting to think about next year, as you just mentioned. You know, you're doing, and so to have something like this where you're, you know, evaluating and talking through ideas this time of year before we hit the holiday season and holiday parties and all of that just seemed to really work. So, so yeah.
Kudos to you and everybody else that invested, most importantly, invested in themselves to better themselves. And that's the hardest thing. And I think Randy Bartlett said it best years ago. He said at a seminar, you know, when you're constantly being told how good you are by, you know, your clients, it's easy for you to believe it. And last month I wrote an article for Disc Jockey News about how failure is a good thing. And I'll never forget, and I don't think I've shared this story even with you. When I first started DJing, I was doing frat parties, and I mean, I thought I was it. But the reality is I was spinning for a bunch of 18-year-olds that were hammered on cheap beer, and you know, I wasn't nearly as good as I thought I was in retrospect. But I jammed that dance floor, and I had people singing and dancing on tables, and I was crushing it for an 18-year-old. And my mom worked at a hospital, and they had their little emergency room party. And she said, "Do you think your boss will let you do a cheap party?" So I said to my boss, you know, "I'll do it for free. My mom needs a cheap DJ. There's only 40 women that are going to be at this thing, and it's like on a Tuesday night." So he said, "Yeah, no problem." So I go in there. Party was terrible. And it was a terrible party. Even in retrospect, it wasn't going to be a great party, even with you or me or Mike Walter or Johnny Kelly or any great people. But having the talent that we all possess now would have made a big difference. So I'm DJing to an empty dance floor, and a woman comes up and asks for a business card. And I very politely, proudly hand her my card and said, "Are you having a party or a wedding or private party or something?" And she said, "Actually, I'm engaged." I'm like, "Oh, congratulations." And I said, "You know, please keep us in mind." And she goes, "Yes, I definitely will. I needed your card." I'm like, "Oh, that's terrific." She goes, I needed your card because I wanted to make sure that I didn't accidentally hire you for my wedding." And I was absolutely, positively crushed. Okay. The good part is my last name is pretty darn unique. So as she's walking away, I see her literally stop, look at the card, realize the last name is the same as one of her coworkers, and then immediately felt stupid, and that was that.
Jeez.
You know, but here's the thing, though. It was great because it put my ego back in check. And sometimes, like you listen to prize fighters and you talk to other people, sometimes the best lessons they've learned is when they've been hit hard and they realize they got to move faster so they don't get hit again, you know, or a quarterback's got to move a lot faster in the pocket before he gets totally pounded on. And in my situation, that was it. And so I was lucky. I started attending DJ Expos in 92. And I made friends with a lot of really wonderful people that have been very open to me, and kind of went from there. So that was that. But I can't stress enough education. And in the event that you are just not getting education from, you know, YouTube or conventions or what have you, by all means, I think that we're all connected now through social media. That it always takes one person to be the guy that's going to say, I'll bite the bullet. I'll come to my town and, you know, it's going to cost you this much money. And ultimately, somebody has to bite the bullet and has to be the ringmaster of the circus and do it.
Right.
And you just have to decide if it's important enough to you to do that. You know, that's the case. So for me, it was easy, and I loved it. I ran Think Tank, I think, for like 7 years or something like that. Parts of my life changed, and then handed the reins over to Mike Walter, and I'm proud of the fact that whatever it is, 15 years later, they're still. It's different than what I had, but they're still doing it and crushing it and traveling the world. And you know, a lot of the Think Tankers have also gone on to give back to the community itself by being ADJA leaders or chapter presidents or speakers or authors. And so yeah, Marcello's always said is keep good company, and I do believe that. So
totally. Where do you feel like do you think that there's any other untapped educational avenues that still have to be developed, or still are left to be developed that you think that you've seen, or that you
let's look at social media
coming up the pike?
I mean, social media alone is going to always be evolving, you know, and as a result of that, I think that, you know, a portion of any DJ conference or even private think tank, excuse me, can always contain parts of social media because it's always evolving. People are always finding new ways to innovate with social media, whether, you know, I mean, let's use Jason Janai as an example. What was it? 5 years ago, he was doing vlogs, and then everybody jumped on the vlog chain. And since then, you don't see him, nor quite honestly, do you see just about anybody doing a vlog anymore like they used to. So maybe it worked at the time. Maybe it was a tried thing and it didn't work. You know, Mike Walter's always dropping his sets that he records from his shows. Again, he knows whether or not people are listening or not listening or how many downloads it gets. But here's the thing with all of them. Everybody's trying something new. They're trying a new sauce on their pasta. They're not just, you know, the successful ones are trying to shake it up and make things different. And, you know, that's I think what makes them successful. And as others have said, is, you know, fail quickly, get up, brush yourself off, and keep pushing. So So let's say hello to some people that I've got. Are you on YouTube or are you on Facebook?
I'll stick on YouTube.
Okay. So on Facebook, Sean Darden says, "Wish there was a DJ convention in Louisville, Kentucky again." Well, Sean, I got news for you. There's one in Chicago, which is only 6 hours away by drive, or maybe 45 minutes by flight. So
well played.
No, it's true. And listen, Atlantic City is probably, well, let's face it. Jason Hedinger goes to Vegas. He's a Kentucky guy.
Yeah.
Ken's daughter I saw in Vegas at Wedding NBA. So I would say that your airport, Sean, has got plenty of ways for you to to jump on a plane and get to different places.
Right.
Ron Kronbush writes, lots of new education that needs more different topics, innovation, and new business concepts. Wish there was more conventions in Canada. Well, I'm going to say this to you as well. You can fly into Chicago easy. You can fly into Vegas easy. Atlantic City isn't quite as easy coming from Canada. I don't know where you're from in Canada. And again, I spoke at a Canadian DJ show in Toronto at a beautiful Hilton that sadly was, underattended. Ron, I don't know if you were one of the people that were there, but, I give them credit, 47 years of education and still learning. So I think that's fantastic. Sean D. Darden, I hate when they are look for cheap DJ. Oh, I think he was referring to when the story I was talking about with my mom. But you know what? The hospital wasn't paying for it. It was a bunch of nurses, and I'll do anything for nurses. So that's the way that it is. Walter Gorzella saying hi. He and you guys were employed together over at Pioneer, weren't you?
Yeah, he used to work for me when I ran the demonstrator program over there. He was one of our regional guys.
Yeah, he's a great dude. Really, really great dude. Mike Walter, I don't know if he's still. Oh no, he's still on. So hello to Mike, and thanks for jumping in and watching. So, how are things over at YouTube?
Yeah, we got some folks on. Let's see here. We got Dave Henderson. We got John Mnemonic. I don't know that name. That's a new one.
Okay.
John Sawyers and Howie is on there as well. So
gotcha. John's a regular. John's a pretty regular folk with us.
Oh, is he?
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, John. We were talking about some innovative or different types of avenues that education can kind of take shape in, and one area that I feel like our industry still could use some development would be more subscription based education. In other words, there are photographers out there that show courses, if you will, online that you can take on example flash settings, and they'll spend 10 weeks showing you how to kind of delve into that. And I think our industry is ripe for something like that, because that's just the new mode, one of the new models of learning. And there's just nothing. I mean, yeah, you can get DVDs, you can get,
Well, I believe that exists.
Again, workshop
Brian. That's the Disc Jockey News Insider editions that you can subscribe to.
Right, but that's still not the same that I'm referring to, because it doesn't dive into specific, 10-week sessions on a singular topic. I know, you know what I'm talking about. Like
10
when
they're
talking
10 weeks on in the photography world of doing portrait sessions or whatever.
Right. And, people love those bite-sized kind of things there. And that might be something for, our industry to kind of look into at some point, because, I mean, people in the photography world are making a killing in that regard. And I don't know. I'm just curious to see if
somebody's gonna a new venture. Is that what you're trying to tell?
No, not at all. Actually, I don't have video skills to pull that off. I just was trying to think through, like, what would the future look. I think video is going to be key, and the fact that you can kind of replay it at your own speed instead of being there. I mean, it's a different way of learning, and just another avenue for education. Is is that topic is what we're talking about tonight. So
gotcha.
just thinking through some different ways of doing that.
Gotcha.
As far as the shows and things go, what do you think the future of that stuff looks like, as far as the bigger shows, or maybe we can drill down on some of that stuff, the workshops? What do you think that those models look like? Are those a dying breed? I mean, is there a cap you think on?
I don't think so. And it's interesting. I had dinner at Wedding NBA with a group of DJs that we're both friends with, and one of the DJs said to me that he said DJ shows are dying. He said trade shows in general are dying, and I politely disagreed with him. And the funny part about it was, Wedding NBA's numbers were up this year, and not a little up. They were significantly up. And I think that, again, I give Shannon and her father a tremendous amount of credit because they are always constantly trying to find new and innovative things and new speakers. And, you know, I know for a fact, Shannon, every single seminar is videotaped at Wedding NBA, and Shannon does diligently watch them. And everybody is sent a survey, and in that survey, they ask them, what seminars did you attend? The people that they did see, what it was, because I have to submit my article for Just Track You News, which is going to be my experience at Wedding NBA this year, and I'm waiting for Shannon to call me back to get the final numbers to find out if they're up. I think that DJ shows could be very much like bars, restaurants, or even retail, that if you're not shifting and changing, you're going to be left behind like the dinosaurs. I mean, let's look at Toys R Us, for example. Toys R Us had so much buying power, okay, that the reality is that you have people like Build-A-Bear is paying prime real estate. They're probably paying $60 a square foot to be inside of a mall or inside of a high tourist attraction like a Navy Pier or boardwalks and different places like that. You've got my niece is just past the age of dolls, but she's got to have 7 of those American Girl doll store dolls. Those things are $100 a piece. And if you've ever been to one of those or passed them,
oh no, yeah,
you've got moms and daughters having lunch there, picking out outfits. Right. Like and it's an expensive.
I think they're they're one of the greatest marketing people I've ever seen. I always take people to their store.
Now let's turn around and go, okay, you have the buying power of Toys R Us. You're telling me if Target was able to knock off accessories and even dolls to rip off to be in the same size as the American Girl doll, Toys R Us couldn't have, take the least profitable section of their store and remodeled it to create an experience like the American Girl doll, like Build-A-Bear? They absolutely could have. But I think what happens is you get stuck in your ways. And again, if you look, and this is of no reflection on anyone, like Atlantic City, people have come to know for a long time that there's the Monday night opening party, that there's a couple of bars or clubs that do things. Wednesday night's DJ of the year. For years, Pioneer and Promo Only did their big party at Planet Hollywood. Like, it became the thing that you knew what was going to happen every single time. And so in the beginning, it was new and exciting. And then at the end, you're kind of like, okay, and it's just different. So that's that.
So what do you think needs to be so you're speaking to this? What are the things that you see that need to be changed in those regards? Like, what is it that not feel so stale and old and rehashed? I mean, is it just this? Because it doesn't sound like I haven't heard any format changes per se from you. It sounds like the differentiator is the speakers at this point.
I think that's going to have to be it, because ultimately, the bottom line is you're going to be in a ballroom, whether it's theater style or whether it's schoolroom style or whether it's round table style like there was at Midwest DJs Live. The bottom line is you're going to have a stage, you're going to have video screens, you're going to have presenters. So the difference is going to be the education that's presented, okay? And you're going to have some of the tried and trues, like a Mike Walter, like a Jim Cerrone, like a Peter Mary, that have great content. I give Mike Walter a tremendous amount of credit because he's constantly evolving himself as a presenter. Yeah. And he's even said, like, if you've seen him interviewed, he's like, some of my seminars were great, some of them weren't, some of them were educational, some of them were entertaining. And so, so that was that. But he's constantly evolving. He's trying to change the game. Other people, you just see it's the same message over and over and over and over again. And that's it. I think that Alan Berg is one that's constantly changing his message too, as much as you can, because again, to a degree, sales are sales. and whether
Right.
you're selling via communicating through social media, whether you're selling via communicating through texting, through email, through a phone, through coffee sales in a Starbucks, to a degree, it's still no like and trust and what have you. So from that aspect, I think that's
Right.
going to be the same. But I think that, again, the trick is going to be different ways of doing things. I mean, look at game shows. Game shows have been the same forever, but there are other game shows that when they hit, like when Who Wants to Be a Millionaire came on, it was new, it was exciting, it was different, and it featured a 60-something-year-old host. So, I mean, even variety shows. Did you just actually join our own broadcast?
Did I?
Yeah. I'm looking at Facebook and it says Brian Bonacisi just joined.
Oh, yeah, because I got tagged in something.
Oh,
So.
Okay. I'm like, all right. But again, certain things change, certain things stay the same. But at the same point in time, look even at award shows. Like,
Right.
my favorite musical award show is the American Music Awards, because I just find them to be the most exciting, the most entertaining. It seems to be more about the performance and the music and less about anything else. And even on that same subject, perhaps it was very discreetly discussed. Did you see anything about the CMAs this year, the Country Music Awards?
I don't think so.
The day that it was over, or the day after it was over, the news all talked about how it was the first awards program in decades.
Oh, yeah.
It
No
did not
politics.
want no politics of any kind. And it doesn't mean that those people don't have an opinion. It just means that they weren't going to talk about it. They were going to celebrate the art, which I thought, I don't know how that happened. I don't know if that was like an internal, like everybody just said, we're not going to do this. And it became that thing that the first person that does it is going to be the goober of the country music world. Or if the CMAs just said, guys, please just keep your politics off for one night. But again, I think that again, it's got to change. So that's all. And it's you're either growing or you're dying, right? So
Right.
For me as a show producer, I'm trying to find fresh people. I'm trying to find new people to speak. I'm trying to find nicer venues. I'm trying to find new and different ideas. And it's going to be a challenge because we're still a very male-dominated industry. So what are you going to do with 100 or 200 guys on a Tuesday night? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
Well, my take on it is that I think in hand seeing a similar, it's kind of like the late night shows. When you go to a late night when you watch the late night shows, it's the same format pretty much. It's the monologue into the and it makes sense to have some consistency there. But I think those that tend to do well teams tend to flip it on its head. I mean, Jimmy Fallon, when he decided to start bringing back the bits that Johnny Carson was known for, when Leno and Letterman were there weren't those musical and kind of more acting type of things happening. It hadn't happened in years, and there was a resurgence in that. Now you look at all the other night show hosts, and guess what you see? All the different kind of bits coming back, and I think it's going to run its course, and soon, you'll start to see, things evolve again. So I think we are ripe for a change in format, not just speakers, although that would be part of it. I think it's ripe for innovation when it comes to the way that shows are done,
Could be. I mean, and again, everybody's had their thing. So David Letterman for a long time had Stupid Human Tricks, had the top, I mean, his top 10 list was classic. I mean, it was,
oh yeah.
James Corden, which, do you watch James Corden ever?
I do. I mean, I don't watch his, actually, let me rephrase that. Okay. I do not record it. I don't watch it in its entirety, but I do watch all of the bits on YouTube.
Right. You watch Carpool Karaoke, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you probably watch the battle that's now turned into his own TV show, right? The rap battle thing that he does, or Drop the Mic.
Yeah, I did that. Now he's got the new thing like Spill. Yeah.
I don't know if you saw your bandwidth is low, so you're cutting in and out.
Kind of older now. Now I watch what is it? This Spill Your Guts or something like that. Tell the Truth or Spill Your. Can you hear me?
Right. You're kind of.
Can you hear me?
You're freezing. I can hear you, but you're frozen up in place. Are you with me, Brian?
Weird. Okay. I can hear you, and everything looks normal on my end.
Gotcha. Right now, you're frozen in place, at least on my end. And the thing said that your bandwidth is low.
Weird.
So, I don't know. But no, I think that it's a constant reinvent itself. And I think it's no different for DJing. I mean, you're not wearing the same clothes that you wore. Mm-hmm. You're not wearing your DJ system's not the same that it was. It's not the same look. You're not after the same goal. I mean, I used to want to mimic a concert, even at a wedding reception. My own wedding, I had 20 feet of truss with spin and puke lights and fog, and we shot off like 10 pounds of confetti throughout the course of the night. I mean, it was a glorified senior prom, but I was 23 and it was 1993. So that was that. Jonathan Haddad said that I turned you to stone. Are you still with me, buddy?
Right. I feel like everything's normal.
I don't know. Jonathan Haddad even said that you're turned to stone. Now you're back. But I just got a warning that your network bandwidth is low. So
I don't get that same error. I don't know why. Anyway.
I don't know.
Well, I will say this. I mean, I do think that the different ways, the topic of our show tonight is what can you get from DJ educational events? And I think that with the different sections of educational events that are out there, you do tend to get different things from it and in different respects. Obviously, in a mass group, you're getting talked to in a lot of cases, from the stage down, which makes sense. If you have 200 people, you can't have individual conversations with 200 people on their own. You kind of have to take it from the stage coming back. Whereas, if you're looking to get more one-on-one stuff, tends to be happening in those workshops. And then if the think tank groups is just kind of a little bit in the tweener, if you get it a little bit more because you're of the sheer volume of people. Have you seen one for you be more effective than the other? Do you feel like there's one that is better than the other? You get more takeaways. Could it be style of learning, or what are your thoughts?
That's a tough question, because when you're in a large group, you're co-oping that. For example, if somebody wanted to learn from David Tutera or be inspired by him, he's at $28,000 asking rate for his appearance fee. So obviously, even your small group of 20 people would be putting out $1,200 a piece to have him speak. Whereas at Wedding MBA with 4,500 there, you break down the cost per person and it's significantly lower. So from that aspect, it's different. At the same point in time, like I told you, my DJ think tank experience was always amazing, because even within a small group, there were people within that group that I clicked with, because at the time I was doing bar mitzvahs or schools or whatever. So I could drill down even further, and I could talk with Jeffrey Craig Cyber specifically about marketing to mitzvah families specific. And that's something that is priceless, that you'll never be able to get at a DJ Expo unless by sheer coincidence you happen to meet him or her, whoever that person might be. Howard Wallach just wrote, group trips, perhaps small gang, having a shared experience, deeper conversations, bonding, being each other's muse and cheerleaders. You know what? Maybe I'm just that guy like that. I don't need to sing Kumbaya around the turntable with people. I mean, I've got a tremendous amount of awesome friends, including yourself, that I've met through the business and have had great conversations about life and business and everything else. But, everyone's got their thing. So he put down hiking. Again, I'd kill myself sooner than go on a hiking trip, but that's just me. Even if I was 150 pounds thinner. So lay by the pool, I'm totally all about it.
Yeah. But, that's a change in activity. That's a change in activity, not necessarily like the actual leisure aspect of it. You know what I mean?
I understand.
But I will say that having gone to other shows beyond DJ shows, I go to on Sunday about to go to the Engage conference, the fourth of four. And one of the things that seems to be, now that's a different animal because of the fact that it's not just one sector.
Can I time out
just
for you
DJ.
for 1 second?
Yeah.
You said this is your fourth of four. Now, does the Engage Summit, would you say that all four are significantly different? Or do they also have a general blueprint, like seminars followed by Monday night welcome party, Tuesday, blah, 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 Wednesday, final night party? And again, there's only so many things.
There are some. Right. No, there are some consistencies in the typical format, but there's enough of a differentiator every time where you're like, ooh, that's a wrinkle. I didn't see that one coming. And it isn't just the change out in speakers by any stretch. It's something in the formatting, there's something in the programming. Like there's some kind of, differentiator every time. And the other thing about it is too, different than a DJ show where like they have four of them, right? So clearly very few people will be like me and go to all four. So you're constantly meeting because there's four opportunities. You might not get, if it was just one, that was the one everybody would go to. So you're seeing different people, I guess is what I'm saying.
But you're attending for a different reason, because if from what you've shared with me, and I don't think I'm passing anything out.
No, you're not saying.
You've also said one of the reasons that you're attending all four, part of it's education, but a larger portion is to network with the correct type of referral sources for you to be booked all over the country. So in one you're kind of like pioneer in the sense that for them to do DJ shows, it's because they want to see four different audiences of DJs, some from Las Vegas, some from the East Coast, some from the West Coast, some from wherever, Canada, some from Europe or what have you. So it's the same premise.
No, I totally agree. It's not apples to apples by any stretch, because I was about to say that you have many different sectors of the event industry in there. Just like, what is it? Wedding MBA is very similar in a sense to it's a bunch of different sectors within the wedding world that are coming together. So, DJ show is obviously industry specific, but I still think that there are value in, creating opportunities where it's a little bit more casual and doesn't feel like forced. It's kind of like we were having a discussion, on the PhDJ recording that they had the other day about the interaction, right? And feeling forced to have to do something. Some people don't respond to that very well, and feeling where it's a little bit more organic, they might get out there on the dance floor. Well, similarly with networking or trying to get your learn on, sometimes people don't want to feel like they're being forced to have to, do anything. They'd rather it be organic in the halls. And some conferences I've been to, that was the biggest nugget takeaway, was those call conversations or those one-on-ones, even in the small groups. When I did the PhDJ workshop, I think for me, obviously the content was good, but it was the little connection.
Still watching.
Is he? Okay. Yeah.
Joe Budden, not so much, because he doesn't even watch his own, as he said before.
Yeah.
Go on.
But there were a couple small relationships that developed from some of the attendees that I never would have ran across this person in those instances, and there was enough space that was in there that allowed us to actually have some conversational time and talk, where if we had met in a DJ convention, it may have been a little bit tougher to do. So I think that those connections can be a little bit easier made when you're obviously in a smaller environment.
Sure. Well, and it's also the hard part too, I think, and part of it is with social media, is years ago, I hung with a lot of the same people at a lot of the DJ shows. And I think it was like my high school reunion kind of a thing. Now with social media, I can see what Brian's up to all the time. And I can, and with cell phones being unlimited calling, like you and I talk once or twice a week. So if I see you at a DJ Expo, like do we even see each other at Wedding MBA this year?
I don't think so. I think it was no. Right. I mean, I was literally in and out for a day. I had 3 things, full schedule. It was crazy.
But again, that never would have happened years ago because technology changed. So Jonathan Haddad just posted, DJ Expo's really changed. Next year for me will be 25th year in a row. So I've seen year after year, and in my opinion, I feel less and less attendees do not value education as much as they used to. So part of that, he could be right because, and again, I have nothing but respect for DJ Expo, and I owe a tremendous debt to them and the presenters they put up. Again, I think that a lot of it is repetitious, and I think that Mobile Eat this year is somewhat repetitious. If you look at the speakers that are presenting, while a lot of them are very, very good, a lot of it is the same presenters. And so I think that as a show producer, you have to constantly be, finding new and exciting people to speak at shows and find that diamond in the rough and kind of go from that point of view. So, I mean, the reason you and I are friends is you and I had the two shittiest time slots at DJ Expo one year. And all I kept thinking to myself was, God, I hope the guy before me does not suck. And it was you. And I was like, shit, you're really, really good, and that's how we started talking. So,
well, and I mean, I don't necessarily put it on DJ Times for their show's education. I mean, at the end of the day, I guess they do control that, but if the speakers that are presenting the material, some onus is on them to come with some fresh content and do that. I mean, it could be the greatest topic, but if the topic doesn't get presented well, there's a little bit of onus that goes on the speaker side of it, not just the producer side. I don't
I agree.
I think it's a two-way street. So for them to say that they, it's all the onus is on them, I think is a little misleading.
I didn't say all of it.
John Sawyer. Okay,
right,
sure. Well, John Sawyer says, I'm a relative newbie between religiously watching this show, Mike and Joe's PhDJ, when it started as a podcast only, and Midwest DJ Live. My business has grown in every way. And John, I agree, man. I think you have to constantly take a little bit of everything, and it's like spices to make a cake, right? You got to make sure you're trying to not be too heavy in one area. That's why I'm a huge proponent in trying something different every year, Right. I will always try to do that. In fact, I probably lean more so on non-DJ events just because I don't want to be sucked into the rabbit hole of always looking through that lens. I want to kind of have a broader, view of things and evolve with what I see in other industries to make my side in the DJ industry kind of stand out.
Right. No, and I think that too, if you're going to the same buffet every single dime, you're going to be eating the same food every time. And so sometimes you're going to venture out, and you know what? Sometimes it's going to be worse. Sometimes it's going to be better. But, sometimes, most major changes happen, and most people succeed because of failure. And so sometimes I think you just need to get out of your own comfort. For some people, they look at Vegas or Atlantic City or wherever as their annual mecca where they're going to see their friends. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's, if you do the same thing over and over again, you're going to get the same result. And that's all there is.
Right. No, totally.
So Ron Kronbush said, I do full wedding planning. There's a major lack of communication on how and why planners. And hang on, somebody else just popped up. So let me scroll this up. How and why planners and event planners, why planners and event planners and venues do things, connecting with them would help us get better floor plans, better for DJs. Ron, I put there's two things here. Number one, if you're concerned about your floor plan, you need to proactively make that part of running your business so the floor plan fits what you feel is going to be most conducive for your entertaining and for your client's success. So if a floor plan is as big of a concern for you as you appear to be saying, that I think you need to proactively make that happen. I think that most of us know the venues that don't have the best floor plan. And so when you have to play certain places, you either let your client know that it's not the most conducive situation in the world, or this is how you can change it and, have the client try to chime in. So let's see. Chris McMahon, as an attendee, I think it's important to have a variety of presenters instead of the same people each year. If I look at the lineup and see a lot of familiar faces, it motivates me less to want to attend, regardless that it may be new content. And you know what? I agree with them, but I think again, part of it is I think people there's a certain comfort knowing that some of the people they like are going to be there. But I do think that you need to keep evolving and changing. And to me, it's kind of like going to a concert. You want to hear the band's new stuff, but you also want to hear some of the band's classic stuff. And there's got to be a balance. Does that make sense?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Jonathan Haddad, bingo. I really applaud the same guys every year because most don't want to do it. But have fresh new content. Speakers would help, I think. So again, I think that everyone's agreeing that they need, fresh content, fresh look, fresh that. But the other thing, guys, is this, which we've not touched on, and it's 9:01 my time, 10:01 your time. As an industry, guys, you need to be willing to pay for it because you're not going to get a Gary Vaynerchuk to tell you everything that you could help you grow your business via social media. If he's $100,000, you can't expect to pay $49 for a pass. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to get these people to come on out. I reached out to Seth Godin. Are you familiar with Seth Godin? The author?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Uh-huh. So Seth Godin's asked for a 50-minute presentation and meet and greet afterwards was $72,000. And he was booked when I reached out to him for for Marquee last year. So he's got plenty of people paying it. But again, you're talking about different budgets, different things, and that's that. So,
right.
I think that you need to be very grateful for the people that do hone their crafts, like a Mike Walter, like a Randy Bartlett, that are constantly or like an Andy Eban that are constantly researching new topics that they feel are going to be pertinent to the disc jockey industry to help you guys grow your business. And they understand they can't keep talking about the same stuff every year.
Right.
So that's it. John, are you here, buddy?
Good stuff.
Yep.
Hey, John, come on back. There he is.
There I am.
So we kind of touched on education all over the board, but I think at the same point in time, if you're not getting it from your large conventions, perhaps rather than give up on the convention at all, maybe the trick is to get everybody to fly in a day early, which is what happened with the bridal show producer group that I happened to become invited to, where I sat the day before Wedding NBA with 18 other bridal show producers, and we talked shop for one day. And I think the gentleman who put it together, we were at Marriott, Courtyard by Marriott, and it was like $89. I mean, it was inexpensive, and we essentially just went around the room and talked about what was working, what wasn't working, talked about, things along those lines, and it worked. So, there's lots of ways. So you don't have to carve out, if you want to start this out, you don't have to carve out a week or 3 days and get people to fly cross country. You could, in theory, just come in a day or two early and do your own thing if you want to do, or hang out a day later.
Right.
Yeah. I always feel like you're kind of reading something else, or you watching television?
No, this is a chat.
No, I'm watching the chat right now.
The chat rooms, they've been some good interaction in the chat. So thank you guys for that. That's always cool to see.
Yeah. So now, are you with us next Thursday, Brian?
I'm not.
You are not.
No.
All right.
No, this will probably be. I'm off for 2 weeks, unfortunately, on events.
2 weeks. All right. So our ratings are going to plummet yet again. Is that the way it goes, John?
No. I'm just the color commentator. You're the play-by-play.
I don't know about that. I just have a bigger mouth than you do. That's all. So that's that.
And a pretty epic beard.
What's that?
And a pretty epic beard going on.
Yeah, I do. I got to get it totally white for Christmas.
Yeah.
So now that my nephew and my niece have outgrown that stage.
Now you're going to be.
So now that it's over, now that I can play the perfect Santa Claus, it's kind of done. So we had a nice crowd today. Yeah. So for those of you that came back, I hope you guys all had an amazing Thanksgiving. We were all off eating turkey, just like you guys were. So thank you for that. On my personal Facebook page, I've got a GoFundMe because we are in toy drive mode. We are going to be, if you're in the Chicagoland area, it's a third Wednesday in December that we're going to be at Coach House Bar and Grill. Kids are welcome from 5 to 8, and we're collecting toys for a variety of charities in need. So if you are watching from the Chicagoland area, I hope you can join us. If you aren't, there's a GoFundMe so that you can help me buy some toys for some families in need so that everybody wakes up on Christmas morning with something under the tree. So
that'd be awesome.
Yeah. You got anything? What do you got going this week, Brian?
So I leave Sunday for the Engage conference. I'll be there till Thursday night, and then I've got weddings that weekend. Yep. And then the following week, I'm leaving for Australia on a Wednesday for some shows out there for a week. So I'll get back the following. So 2 weeks from Thursday, I can join the show.
Very good.
And right before the holidays.
Very good. And how about you?
Well,
John,
thanks for watching.
What are you doing this week?
Just covering more trade shows in different industries. This weekend's ice fishing. Another ice fishing trade show. So.
Yeah, hey there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So everybody, thanks again for tuning in. It was great to see all of you. Good night and God bless.